Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Eagle Scout Pete Sessions, Congressman Eagle Scout Chairman Pete Sessions. Thank you for that great introduction. It is an absolute honor to be here, and it was. About a week ago, I said, I'd like to get the Eagle Scouts together on the floor of the House of Representatives and talk about what it means to us to be Eagle Scouts, reflect on our history and our tradition, and how great this institution has been for the United States of America for all of these years, and how we must make sure that this institution stays strong for the years to come. And when I brought that to your attention, you said, absolutely, we'll do it. I didn't talk to you again, and today we're doing it. I didn't have to ask twice. And you, as chairman of this caucus, the Scouting Caucus here in the House of Representatives, you have led. You have led in a tremendous way. We have seen so many Eagle Scouts come to the Capitol, and you always get all of us together, and you always have us talk face-to-face with the Scouts, not just Eagle Scouts, but encourage them from the earliest days of their scouting careers. And I want to say thank you for your leadership, because a lot of people could chair this committee, but you haven't just chaired it, you have led it, and that reflects greatly on you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So when I think about my days as a scout, I go all the way back to my Cub Scout days. In fact, it was even before I was a scout. My brother was a year older than me, and he was, so he got to be a Cub Scout before I was a Cub Scout. And so he got to participate in this new thing that was going on in the lives of the Bridenstines. It was called the Pinewood Derby. And he had this little car, block of wood with some nails and some wheels, and we watched that car streak from the very top of the track and come to a screeching halt where the track leveled out. In fact, this little blue car didn't even make it to the end of the track. And of course, all of these other scouts with all of their fancy cars, they had like their rounded wheels, and they had graphited the nails, and they had all of the weights put in the car. We didn't know to do any of that. So my brother, John Bridenstine, who was a Cub Scout before I was a Cub Scout, had to endure this pain of, you know, he was a scout and he wanted to have the fastest car, and his car didn't even make it to the end of the track. Well, I'll tell you this. There was a life scout named Wayne Bridenstine who was our dad, and he was not going to allow any of our cars to ever again not make it to the end of the track. So we went to work trying to learn everything we could about this Pinewood Derby, and we engineered a couple of what I think are the greatest cars in American scouting history. And the next year, the Bridenstine boys won first place and second place going forward. And then we won first place and second place. I don't remember which is which, but we reversed it going backwards. And so we went from having a car that didn't even reach the end of the track to winning the Pinewood Derby. Many years later, now I have my own son, and he's in Cub Scouts, and he does the Pinewood Derby. And I committed to him the same thing my dad committed to us back in those days, that we're going to win the Pinewood Derby. And the first year we did it, we had great success. The second year, Dad got a little maybe over-aggressive in his engineering. Maybe we put the weights a little too far back, and as that car came down, it got really unstable and it wobbled, and there was a couple of times it barely made it to the end of the track. But I'll tell you this, the relationship that I had with my dad and my brother had with our dad, that was necessary to pull us from not even finishing the race to winning the race, and now the relationship with my son, Walker Bridenstine, these are things that are important in our family and will be for many years to come. So those are some of my first ideas. Of course, Cub Scouts, my first thoughts of Scouts. Cub Scouts eventually led to the Arrow of Light, and then the very next progression is to become a Boy Scout. And so we searched a number of different troops across Arlington, Texas, and Fort Worth, Texas. We were in the Longhorn Council at the time. We eventually settled on Troop 83. And I remember some of the leaders of the troop, Mr. Wasden, Coach Wasden. He was a football coach at Hutchison Junior High. And I'll tell you, that was somebody who was intense. And he was serious about Scouts. And boy, if you were going to move up in rank, you were going to prove to him that you've done what was required. And of course, earning merit badges was important to all of us who were trying to move up the ranks. I'll never forget the first summer camp that we went on. My brother and I were not able to go on the summer camp that our troop went on. So we went to this thing called the Maverick Camp, where we went with a bunch of scouts that we didn't even know, but we had a great time. I'm not going to lie to you, it was a challenge. I was in 5th grade, my brother was in 6th grade, and it was in the middle of August in Texas. It was, we'll just say the middle of August in Texas, and it was just as hot at midnight as it was at the noon hour. And so I'll tell you, we sweat a lot, we worked hard. We got 7 merit badges that summer, and that was intense. We didn't know you weren't supposed to get that many. We showed up back at our troop for the Court of Honor, and people were shocked that we got 7 merit. No wonder it was so hard. Nobody told us not to get 7 merit badges in one summer camp. But these are some of the memories I had. My brother and I, we were really challenged, and we got that done. And from there, the next summer camp, I think we did 3 or 4 merit badges and had a lot more fun. But these are some of the memories. I was the chaplain's aide. My brother, and I'll tell you, as the chaplain's aide, one of the things that I prayed for most was that the chaplain would show up on the campouts so I wouldn't have to do the public speaking in front of everybody. And here I am now as a member of Congress who publicly speaks for a living. That's one of the things that the Boy Scouts of America gave me, the ability to stand before an audience and tell people what was on my mind. So that was my leadership experience, was as the chaplain's aide. My brother was the senior patrol leader for Troop 83. I was in the Arrow of Light Patrol. He was in the Bison Patrol, and he was the senior patrol leader. But then summer camp after summer camp and all of the things that we learned, here's, I think, one of the important things that people need to remember. The Boy Scouts of America is an institution that trains leaders. And you might not recognize it when you're in it because you believe you're just having fun. But then there come those moments in life when you really need to lean on the things that you learned as a Boy Scout, and it doesn't even dawn on you until later that you actually learned these things as a Boy Scout. After I graduated from college, I joined the United States Navy. I became a pilot, and of course one of the things we have to do is survival training, survival, evasion, resistance, and escape. And in this process, we have to live in the woods for a period of time. We have to figure out how we're going to survive for a week and evade. And during this time, you have to live based on the things that you see around you, and you have to be able to start a fire. Some of these basic things that I was able to do that all the peers around me had no ability to do because they did not have the life experiences in the Boy Scouts of America. We had to be able to cook a rabbit, something that I had done before, something that my peers, also Navy pilots, had not done. We had to be able to land navigate with a map and a compass, which to me was second nature because I had done it for years trying to get to my rank of Eagle. But for so many people, it was such a foreign concept to use a map and a compass to land navigate from point A to point B. I remember one group navigated point to point, and our group, we said we don't want to go point to point because if we miss the point, we won't even know that we missed the point. So we're going to intentionally offset, hit the river, then we're going to know exactly where we are, and of course we didn't miss the point. We knew where we were going and we got there. But some of my peers who did not have the experiences I had went well beyond the point and didn't know they had gone beyond the point, and then they had to come back. And I could have told you that was going to happen because it had happened to me previously as somebody who was in the Boy Scouts of America. These are very real life experiences that you look back on and you say, why was I able to do this? I was able to do it because I was in the Boy Scouts of America. But you also look back and you say there are things that are intangible, things that are not specific. I heard Eagle Scout Jeb Henserling, Chairman, Congressman, Eagle Scout Jeb Henserling today talk about tying a bowline one-handed and how he doesn't anticipate finding himself, at the bottom of a cliff with a broken arm. But if he did, he'd be able to tie a one-handed bowline and somebody'd be able to pull him out. Well, certainly that's exactly the same kind of thing that I learned when I was going through the same program. And just a couple of weeks ago, Walker Bridenstine, my son, had to learn how to tie a bowline. And I was trying to teach him how to tie a bowline the old-fashioned way, and I simply couldn't do it. But then when I tried to tie it as a one-handed bowline, I was able to do it. It just stuck with me all of these years. So these are specific skills, but the leadership, the ability to to lead people. These are things that the Boy Scout teaches you. You apply these things every day in your life, and you don't even know that you're doing it. And I will also say that as employers look for leaders when they're trying to find who they're going to hire. And we see over and over again employers looking to hire Eagle Scouts from the Boy Scouts of America. So there might be somebody today who's watching this, maybe on C-SPAN, maybe on the internet, and maybe you're a Boy Scout, maybe you're a Cub Scout, maybe you're not sure if you're going to stick it out or not stick it out. I'll tell you this. Every interview I've ever gone on, I had a resume, and on that resume included the fact that I was an Eagle Scout. Even when I was applying for college, I put on my resume, and in all of my extracurriculars, I put on there that I was an Eagle Scout. I would highly encourage anybody who is maybe at their, maybe a lower rank, but working hard to attain that Eagle, finish your Eagle Scout. My dad was a Life Scout. He moved when he was a Life Scout. He never finished his Eagle. His brother, Jim Bridenstine, my uncle, did finish his Eagle Scout. Of course, my brother and I both finished our Eagle Scouts, and now our kids are in Scouts, and we're going to do everything we can to help them finish their Eagle Scouts. Not only did I put it on every resume, not only did I put it on all of my college applications, I'll tell you, I also ran for federal office, and the first thing I did in my campaign commercials is I told people, my name is Jim Bridenstine, and I'm an Eagle Scout. Before I told them that I went to college, or before I told them that I was a Navy pilot, I told them that I was an Eagle Scout, because I think it's important for people to understand that some folks have a desire from an early age to achieve. And when employers look at a resume, when voters look at somebody running for office, they want to see that. I'll tell you, there was somebody who came into my office not too long ago wanting a job. And I had a number of great candidates. And it was nearly impossible for me to pick which one. You guys know this. When you get to be a member of Congress, you get hundreds of resumes the next day. And I'm getting down to the end. I'm trying to figure out which one. I got down to 3. One of the 3, when they left my office, one of the 3 said this. Oh, one other thing, I need to let you know, I'm an Eagle Scout. And that did it for me. Because I knew at that point that this young man had committed himself to something much bigger than himself from an early age. That person now works in my office. And I look for that. And I know employers across this country look for that, because it speaks volumes to the character and the training of the individual. And that will continue. And I'll tell you, when you think about all of the astronauts in the United States of America, 316 or so of them in the history of the United States of America, 40 of them were Eagle Scouts. That's not by accident. I'll tell you, that's a much higher percentage than the number of Eagle Scouts who are produced in the Boy Scouts of America, and it's certainly a much higher percentage than the number of Eagle Scouts that exist in the population of the United States of America. So this is something that employers look for. I took my son, my 11-year-old son, to the Air Force Academy just about a month ago. And I took some brochures about what it takes to get into the Air Force Academy. And there's all kinds of stuff in there about being an athlete and being a great student. But one of the 6 criteria that they look for is, are you an Eagle Scout? At the Air Force Academy of the United States of America. I would also argue that they probably look for the same thing at West Point and the Naval Academy. But these are things that employers look for, that schools look for, that the military of the United States look for. These are the character issues that are important. So if you are in scouting today, my encouragement to you is finish. Get your Eagle Scout. If you're not in scouting and you're below the age of 18 and you've still got time, I would encourage you to join and get your Eagle Scout. It's been important for me. It's been important for my brother. It's been important for my family. Uncle Jim, his son Shane, my cousin, is also an Eagle Scout. This is a tradition of the Bridenstine family, and I would encourage you to make it a tradition of yours. With that, Mr. Chairman, I just want to say thank you for your leadership. Thank you for leading this effort, and I'll yield back.